The thumping bass of the party music filled the studio, mingling with the laughter and clinking of glasses. It was supposed to be a celebration, an evening to mark the completion of my latest project. Instead, it turned into the moment that shattered my world. I was winding my way through the crowd, greeting guests and trying to enjoy the evening, when I decided to check the security footage from my office. I'd set up cameras there out of habit. One too many times, I'd walked into a mess in that room. Tonight, though, it wasn't a spilled drink I was about to encounter. I pulled up the live feed on my phone and watched as the screen flickered between angles of my office. A few minutes passed, and nothing seemed out of place. But then, something caught my eye. Two figures huddled together, their faces barely visible. My heart skipped a beat when I recognized them. It was Holly, my wife, and Richard, the singer I had signed months ago. I leaned closer to the screen, my pulse racing. Richard's hand slid around Holly's waist. And she leaned in, their faces now unmistakable. They were not just talking, they were whispering intimately, sharing a private moment that no one else should have seen. My stomach churned as the realization hit me. This wasn't some harmless flirtation. The way they looked at each other, the way their bodies were pressed together, it was more than that. They were having an affair. And here I was, completely oblivious until now. I felt a surge of anger and betrayal. I could barely breathe as I watched the video, my mind racing to piece together the implications. Holly, my wife, had been cheating on me with Richard, the very person whose career I had helped shape. The irony was bitter and stinging. Without thinking, I closed the feed and stormed out of my office. I pushed through the crowd, my gaze fixed and unseeing. I needed to confront Holly. I needed to hear her explanation, though deep down, I knew that no words could ever justify what I had just seen. I found her near the bar, laughing and chatting with a few colleagues. My face must have been a mask of fury because the room seemed too quiet as I approached. "Holly," I said, my voice tight and controlled, though my hands were shaking. "We need to talk. Now." Her smile faltered as she saw the look on my face. She glanced around nervously before nodding and following me to a quieter corner of the studio. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice tinged with a note of false innocence. I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone. I showed her the video, the damning evidence of her betrayal. Her face turned pale as she watched. The realization of being caught seemed to sink in slowly, like a heavy weight pulling her down. "Zach, she began, but I cut her off. "No excuses," I said firmly. "How long has this been going on?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken truths. "This is it, Holly," I said, my voice breaking slightly. "I can't believe I trusted you. You've been seeing Richard behind my back. I don't know what else to say." She reached out for me, but I stepped back, shaking my head. "No, I'm done with this. I'm done with you." I turned on my heel and walked away, my mind already racing with what I was going to do next. The betrayal I had just uncovered was more than personal, it was professional. Richard's career had to pay the price for what he had done. And I had the perfect plan to make that happen. The studio was empty now, save for the lingering echoes of the party and my own thoughts spinning wildly. I sat at my desk, the weight of Holly's betrayal heavy on my shoulders. The more I thought about it, the more a singular thought solidified in my mind: Richard had to pay for this. The rage that burned inside me wasn't just about losing Holly. It was about the violation of trust, the manipulation, and the disrespect. Richard was not just some random singer, he was someone I had invested in, someone I had helped shape his career. Now, he would pay the price. I took a deep breath and began to strategize. First, I needed to gather all the evidence I could. The video footage was damning, but I needed more. I sifted through the security footage, pulling up every instance where Richard and Holly had interacted. I found more incriminating clips, private meetings, late-night conversations, and even some awkwardly intimate moments. Once I had compiled a substantial amount of evidence, I turned my attention to Richard's recordings. The studio had a treasure trove of material, some of it brilliant, but much of it mediocre or worse. I dug through the archives and found a collection of failed recordings, tracks that were so poor they had never seen the light of day. I knew what I had to do. I would compile these failed recordings into a single disc, a compilation of Richard's worst work. But that wasn't enough. To make this truly devastating, I would also include the Scandalous videos, evidence of his affair with Holly. It took several late nights, but I finally put together the ultimate revenge package. A disc that showcased Richard's musical failures and included a carefully edited video montage of his private moments with Holly. I titled the disc, The Unseen Truth. Before I released it, I reached out to a few key figures in the music industry, people who had influence and could spread the word. I arranged private listening sessions for them, making sure they understood the gravity of the material they were about to hear. The reaction was swift and unforgiving. The industry insiders were shocked by the contents of the disc. Word spread like wildfire, and soon, Richard's failed recordings and scandalous videos were all anyone could talk about. The media jumped on the story, and the scandal became a sensational headline. Richard's career was in free fall. Contracts were pulled, endorsements were cancelled, and the public turned against him. It was a brutal and public dismantling of everything he had built. Meanwhile, Holly was left grappling with the fallout. Her attempts to reconnect with Richard were futile. He was a pariah, and any future they might have had together was now impossible. She was also facing the consequences of her actions. Friends and acquaintances began to distance themselves from her, and the shame of the scandal was suffocating. I watched it all unfold with a cold satisfaction. The revenge I had planned was complete, but it left me with a hollow feeling. I had won, but the victory was bittersweet. My personal betrayal had been avenged, but the collateral damage was extensive. With Holly and Richard out of my life, I began to focus on what came next. The future was uncertain, but at least I had one less problem to deal with. My next steps would be about rebuilding, finding new opportunities, and moving on from the wreckage of my past. The morning after the scandal broke, the studio was eerily quiet. I had always thrived on the energy of a busy workday, but today, the silence felt oppressive. The phone had been ringing non-stop with calls from journalists, industry insiders, and even former colleagues who had heard about the debacle. I answered a few calls, giving brief, non-committal responses before retreating to my office. The reality of what I'd done was beginning to settle in. My revenge had been effective, Richard's career was in ruins, and Holly's future with him was destroyed. But it was more than I had anticipated. I spent the morning watching the news coverage. The media was relentless, broadcasting every detail of Richard's failures and the scandalous videos. The public was fascinated, and the story dominated headlines. The more I saw, the more I realized the extent of the damage. It wasn't just Richard's career that was ruined, the ripple effects were touching everyone connected to him, including me. The studio staff and musicians were whispering behind closed doors. Some expressed their sympathy, while others were more cautious, unsure how to react to the situation. I had always been a respected figure in the industry, but now I felt like an outsider. The walls seemed to close in as I pondered the consequences of my actions. Around midday, I received a call from Holly. Her voice was shaky, a stark contrast to her usual confident tone. She wanted to meet, to talk about what had happened and to see if there was any chance to salvage anything from the wreckage. I agreed to meet her at a quiet cafe, away from the prying eyes of the press. When she arrived, she looked tired and worn. Her once impeccable appearance was now disheveled, and her eyes were red from crying. "Zach," she said as she sat down across from me, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't even know where to start. I'm so sorry. I never meant for things to get this out of control." I leaned back in my chair, trying to maintain my composure. "Sorry? Holly, you're beyond sorry. You've ruined not just your life but Richard's career and, frankly, made a mess of everything I've worked for." She nodded, her gaze dropping to the table. "I understand. I really do. But please, can't we try to fix this somehow? Richard is finished, and I'm struggling. I need your help." I shook my head. "There's nothing to fix, Holly. This was my plan all along, to make sure that both of you paid for what you did. Richard's career is over, and your future with him is gone. I'm not in the business of picking up the pieces after a battle." Her face fell, and I could see the despair in her eyes. "I never wanted this. I thought I could keep everything under control, but it all spiraled out of hand." "I'm sorry, Holly," I said, though my tone was more resigned than sympathetic. "But what's done is done. You made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences." With that, our meeting ended. Holly left the cafe, and I watched her go, feeling a mixture of relief and guilt. The bitterness of revenge was tempered by the reality of the aftermath. Back at the studio, I began to focus on rebuilding. My reputation was damaged, and the industry was still buzzing with the fallout of the scandal. I had to navigate the new landscape, find new clients, and restore my position in the business. It wasn't going to be easy, but it was the path forward. I started reaching out to old contacts and exploring new opportunities. The process of rebuilding would take time, but I was determined to move forward. The personal betrayal had been avenged, but now it was time to focus on the future and the new challenges it would bring. The events of the past few weeks had changed everything. I had gotten my revenge, but it had come at a high cost. As I looked ahead, I knew that the road to recovery would be long and difficult. But one thing was certain: I would face it with the same determination that had fueled my revenge. It had been a few weeks since the scandal broke, and the dust was beginning to settle. The initial frenzy of media coverage had died down, and Richard's name was no longer the top story. However, the effects of the scandal still lingered like a bad taste in my mouth. The studio, once bustling with activity, now felt more like a ghost town. The fallout from Richard's disastrous release had caused ripples that reached every corner of my business. Trust was a fragile thing, and mine had taken a serious hit. I needed to rebuild not only my career but also my reputation. One afternoon, as I was going through the piles of emails and phone messages, my assistant knocked on the door and handed me a letter. The envelope was plain, but the letter inside was anything but ordinary. It was from Richard, sent through a lawyer. I opened the letter with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Richard was demanding a public apology and a retraction of the scandalous material I had released. He claimed that the exposure had not only damaged his career but also caused personal suffering that was irreparable. I snorted in disbelief. The nerve of him. After everything he had done, he had the gall to ask for an apology. The letter was thick with legal jargon, but the underlying tone was clear. Richard was desperate. He was grasping at straws, trying to salvage whatever was left of his shattered career. I crumpled the letter and tossed it into the trash. I wasn't about to bow to his demands. The damage was done, and it was his own actions that had led to this outcome. If he wanted to fight, I was ready for it. I had made my stand, and I wasn't going to back down now. Despite the ongoing chaos, I decided it was time to address the situation more strategically. I reached out to some trusted industry contacts and began discussing new projects and collaborations. I needed to show that I was moving forward, that I was still a valuable player in the music world. One day, I received a call from an old friend and business associate. Jake. He had heard about the scandal and was curious about how I was handling the situation. Over coffee, Jake offered his support and suggested that I take a step back and focus on what really mattered: my passion for music. Zach, he said, you've been through a lot. But don't let this mess define you. Focus on your strengths and what you love about music. The industry will notice. His words struck a chord with me. Jake's encouragement reminded me of why I got into the business in the first place. It wasn't just about success or revenge, it was about creating something meaningful, something that mattered. I took his advice to heart. I began working on new projects, pouring my energy into producing fresh, exciting music. I started collaborating with up-and-coming artists, those who had a spark and a vision. I put my focus on nurturing talent and creating opportunities rather than dwelling on past grievances. Slowly but surely, things began to change. The studio's atmosphere lightened as new projects took shape. The creative energy returned, and my reputation started to recover. The scars from the scandal were still there, but they were fading, replaced by the tangible progress of my work. Meanwhile, Holly's attempts to reconnect had dwindled. She had left town, trying to escape the fallout of her choices. The last I heard, she was struggling to find a new path for herself. I wished her well in a detached way, knowing that our lives had irrevocably diverged. As for Richard, the public had largely moved on. His career had taken a severe hit, and he was nowhere near the star he once was. His attempts to make a comeback were met with skepticism, and the industry had largely moved past him. With time, I found a new equilibrium. The scars of betrayal and revenge remained, but they had become a part of my past. I was moving forward, finding new purpose and passion in my work. The road ahead was still uncertain, but it was mine to navigate, free from the shadows of old conflicts. I had faced the storm, weathered the fallout, and emerged on the other side. The journey wasn't over, but it had shifted. Now, it was about rebuilding, rediscovering my love for music, and forging a new path in a world that had changed forever. The rhythm of the studio had found its groove again. It wasn't the frenetic energy of the past, but it was a steady beat, and for now, that was enough. I had thrown myself into my work, channeling all my focus into new projects and collaborations. One Monday morning, I was in the middle of a session with a promising new artist named Jenna. She had a raw talent and a unique voice that reminded me why I fell in love with music in the first place. As we worked through her latest track, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The creative process was invigorating, and it was a welcome distraction from the chaos of the past months. While Jenna was recording, my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Maria, a longtime industry friend and a journalist with connections. She had been keeping a low profile recently but had sent me a message to touch base. Curious, I decided to give her a call during a break. "Hey, Zach," Maria answered, her voice warm. "I've been meaning to check in. How's everything going?" "It's a mixed bag," I admitted. "The studio's back to work, but it's been a rough ride since the scandal." "I can imagine," she said sympathetically. "Listen, I've been working on a piece about how artists and producers recover from public scandals. I'd like to include your story, if you're up for it." I hesitated. It wasn't that I wasn't open to sharing my experiences, but I was wary of revisiting the past. "I'm not sure, Maria. I've been trying to move on, not dwell on what happened." "I understand," she said. "But your story could be inspiring to others who faced similar challenges. It's not just about the scandal, it's about how you've managed to rebuild and move forward." Her words resonated with me. The idea of sharing my journey wasn't just about reliving past events. It was about demonstrating resilience and recovery. After a moment of consideration, I agreed. Over the next few weeks, Maria and I met several times for interviews. She asked detailed questions about the scandal, my reaction, and the steps I took to recover. We discussed the emotional toll, the strategic decisions, and the creative projects that had helped me regain my footing. It was cathartic to talk about the experience in such a structured way. It wasn't about seeking sympathy but rather about sharing lessons learned and personal growth. Meanwhile, Jenna's album was coming together nicely, and I was excited about the potential it had. Working on her music was a reminder of why I had chosen this career. It wasn't about revenge or conflict, it was about creating something meaningful and impactful. One day, during a break in the studio, I received a call from an old industry contact, Lisa. She was an A. It was a chance to work on a high-profile project that could further cement my comeback. We scheduled a meeting to discuss the details, and I was eager to explore what opportunities lay ahead. As I walked into the meeting with Lisa, I was struck by the contrast between this and the dark days of the scandal. The room was filled with anticipation and possibility, a stark reminder of how far I had come. Lisa was enthusiastic about the new direction my work had taken and proposed a collaboration that could open doors to exciting new ventures. The deal we discussed would not only provide financial stability but also enhance my reputation within the industry. It was a chance to rebuild my career on new terms and to focus on positive, forward-looking projects. In the months that followed, the collaboration with Lisa's label proved to be a success. The new projects were well received, and my involvement in Jenna's album garnered critical acclaim. The positive attention helped to overshadow the remnants of the scandal, and my reputation slowly began to recover. I took on more high-profile projects and continued to work with emerging artists, each success reinforcing my position in the industry. The scars of the past were still there, but they had become part of my history rather than my present. Looking back, I realized that the path to rebuilding was not just about professional recovery but also about personal growth. The experience had taught me resilience, patience, and the importance of focusing on what truly mattered. My career was no longer defined by a single event but by the ongoing work and creativity that fueled my passion. As the studio buzzed with new energy and possibilities, I felt a renewed sense of optimism. The journey wasn't over, but it was moving in a positive direction. The future was filled with potential, and I was ready to embrace it, armed with the lessons of the past and the hope of new beginnings. The buzz around my recent projects had started to die down, and the studio was back to its usual rhythm. Things were looking up, and I was focusing on new opportunities and nurturing emerging talent. However, the past had a way of catching up with me, and I was about to find out just how true that was. It was a typical Tuesday afternoon when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Maria's number. She had been working on the piece about my recovery and was preparing to publish it. I answered, expecting a routine update. "Hey, Zach," Maria said, her voice slightly tense. "I have some news. The article is about to go live, and it's getting a lot of attention. I just wanted to give you a heads up." I thanked her for the update and hung up, feeling a mix of anticipation and apprehension. The article, titled From Scandal to Success, A Producer's Journey Through the Storm, was set to explore my journey from the fallout of the Richard scandal to my current comeback. It was intended to highlight resilience and the positive side of my recovery, but I knew that any public piece could attract unwanted attention. That evening, as the article went live, the response was swift and varied. The media picked up on it, and soon, I was once again in the spotlight. The piece painted a hopeful picture of my comeback, but it also reignited the scandal's narrative, if only briefly. Some outlets praised my ability to bounce back, while others questioned whether my actions against Richard were justified. I decided to take control of the narrative. I reached out to a few key industry influencers and asked them to share their perspectives on my work and recovery. It was important for me to show that my current success wasn't just a result of overcoming adversity but also a testament to my skills and dedication to the craft. As the week progressed, I found myself answering questions from journalists and attending interviews. The media scrutiny was intense, but I remained focused on presenting my story positively. I emphasized the lessons I had learned and the forward momentum of my career. One day, I received a call from Jenna. She had seen the article and wanted to discuss our next steps. She was eager to continue building on the momentum of her album and was enthusiastic about exploring new projects. "Zach," she said, her voice filled with excitement, "I've been thinking about doing a live tour to promote the album. What do you think?" I smiled, recognizing the opportunity. "That sounds fantastic, Jenna. A live tour would be a great way to showcase the album and connect with fans. Let's start planning it." The tour was a significant step forward, both for Jenna's career and for mine. It was an opportunity to shift the focus from the scandal to positive, creative achievements. We began working on the details, including booking venues, coordinating with promoters, and developing a marketing strategy. In the midst of the preparations, I received an unexpected visitor, Holly. She showed up at the studio one afternoon, looking more composed than before but still visibly anxious. "Zach," she said as she entered my office, "I didn't come here to stir up old conflicts. I just wanted to see how you're doing." I was taken aback but kept my composure. "Holly, it's been a while. I'm doing all right, focusing on moving forward." She nodded, taking a seat. "I've been trying to rebuild my own life, but it's been challenging. I saw the article and the tour plans and thought it might be a good time to reach out." I listened as she spoke about her struggles and her efforts to find a new direction. It was clear that she was genuinely trying to make amends, but I was cautious. The wounds from the past were still fresh, and I wasn't ready to fully embrace reconciliation. "I appreciate you coming by, Holly," I said, "but I need to focus on the present and the future. My priority right now is my work and the people who are part of it." She understood and, after a brief exchange, left the studio. Her visit had been a reminder that while I was moving on, the past still had echoes. It was a part of the journey, but it didn't have to define my path forward. As the tour preparations continued and the media spotlight gradually shifted away, I felt a renewed sense of control. The public eye was a powerful force, but it was also a reminder of how far I had come. My focus was on the future, on building my career, supporting emerging talent, and finding new ways to make an impact. With each step forward, I was redefining my narrative, turning the page from scandal to success. The road ahead was still challenging, but it was one I was determined to navigate with resilience and purpose. The tour was in full swing, and the energy was electric. Jenna's performances were captivating, and the response from the audience was overwhelmingly positive. Each night, the excitement of the crowd reminded me of the power of music and the impact it could have on people's lives. It was a welcome distraction from the residual effects of the scandal and a testament to the progress I had made. The success of the tour also brought new opportunities. Industry professionals and fans alike took notice, and I found myself fielding offers and inquiries from various sources. It was a reminder that, despite the challenges, my career was on the mend. One evening, as the tour bus rolled into another city, I received a call from Lisa, the A. It was a chance to present my side of the story in a controlled manner and to highlight the positive aspects of my recovery. After discussing the details with Lisa, I agreed to participate. Over the next few weeks, the documentary crew followed me through various aspects of my life and work. They captured behind-the-scenes moments of the tour, interviews with Jenna and other collaborators, and candid reflections on my journey from scandal to success. The process was both exhausting and invigorating, offering a platform to share my story in a way that felt authentic and empowering. The filming was intense but rewarding. I had the opportunity to reflect on the challenges I had faced and the lessons I had learned. It was cathartic to discuss the impact of the scandal and how it had shaped my approach to both my career and personal life. As the documentary neared completion, I received another unexpected call, this time from Richard. It was a rare and uncomfortable moment, but I felt it was important to address it directly. "Zach," Richard said, his voice sounding tired and defeated, "I wanted to reach out and apologize for everything that happened. I know I can't undo the damage, but I want to acknowledge the pain I've caused. I've been trying to make sense of things and figure out my own path forward." I listened, feeling a mix of surprise and skepticism. Richard's apology was long overdue, but hearing it now was a reminder of how complicated and unresolved the situation still felt. "I appreciate your apology, Richard," I said cautiously. "It's a step in the right direction, but the impact of your actions has already been profound. I'm focused on moving forward and rebuilding my career." Richard understood and thanked me for listening. We ended the call with a sense of closure, even if the past couldn't be completely erased. It was a reminder that personal growth and reconciliation were ongoing processes, and sometimes they required confronting difficult truths. With the documentary set to premiere and the tour nearing its conclusion, I took some time to reflect on the journey. The success of Jenna's album and the positive reception of the documentary were significant milestones. They marked a turning point in my career, one that emphasized resilience and the power of creative expression. The final leg of the tour was a celebration of these achievements. The energy was high, and the audience was more enthusiastic than ever. Jenna's performances were a testament to her talent and the hard work we had put into the project. As the tour came to a close, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The documentary was well received, and it provided a platform to share my story and the positive aspects of my recovery. It was a reminder that, despite the challenges and setbacks, there was always the possibility of renewal and growth. With the tour behind me and new opportunities on the horizon, I was ready to embrace the future. The road to recovery had been long and winding, but it had led to a place of renewed purpose and potential. The lessons learned and the experiences gained had shaped me into a stronger and more focused individual. As I looked ahead, I felt a sense of optimism and excitement. The journey was far from over, but it was a journey marked by resilience, creativity, and a commitment to moving forward. The turning point had arrived, and I was ready to make the most of it, forging a new path in a world that had been irrevocably changed. The studio was buzzing with a renewed sense of excitement. Jenna's tour had been a resounding success, and the positive media coverage from the documentary had further solidified my comeback. The narrative was shifting from scandal to success, and the future seemed promising. One crisp autumn morning, as I walked into the studio, I noticed a small package waiting for me at the reception desk. It was from an old friend, Tony, a fellow producer and one of the few people who had stayed in touch throughout the tumultuous months. Inside the package was a handwritten note and a vintage vinyl record of a classic album that had inspired me early in my career. The note read, "Zach, thought you might appreciate this. Sometimes, going back to the classics can remind us why we started in the first place. Keep pushing forward. Cheers, Tony." I appreciated the gesture. It was a reminder of why I had pursued this career and why I was so determined to rebuild. As I placed the record on the shelf in my office, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. That afternoon, I had a meeting with Lisa to discuss the next steps for the studio. She was enthusiastic about expanding our roster and exploring new projects. One of the key items on our agenda was the potential for a new collaborative venture with Jenna and other emerging artists. The idea was to create a series of unique, cross-genre projects that could set new trends in the industry. "Zach," Lisa said, "this is an opportunity to showcase your vision and influence. We've got a chance to shape the next wave of music, and I think it's something we should dive into." I agreed wholeheartedly. The concept was exciting, and it felt like the perfect way to channel my experiences and insights into something innovative and impactful. We began outlining the project, brainstorming ideas, and reaching out to potential collaborators. As we finalized the details, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought me to this point. The scandal, the fallout, and the eventual recovery had been challenging, but they had also been transformative. The lessons learned and the relationships forged along the way had shaped me into a more resilient and focused individual. One evening, after a particularly productive day at the studio, I received a call from Jenna. She wanted to discuss the future direction of her career and the new projects we had been planning. "Zach," she said excitedly, "I've been thinking about the new collaborations, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how we can push boundaries and create something unique. This is an incredible opportunity for all of us." Her enthusiasm was infectious. We spent the next hour discussing ideas, sharing visions, and making plans. Jenna's energy and creativity were inspiring, and I felt confident that our collaboration would be a major success. As the months went by, the new projects began to take shape. The studio was filled with a vibrant mix of talent and creativity, and the atmosphere was one of innovation and excitement. Each new track, each new artist, brought fresh perspectives and possibilities. The industry began to take notice of our work, and we gained recognition for pushing creative boundaries and fostering new talent. The challenges of the past were becoming a distant memory, overshadowed by the success of our current endeavors. Looking back, I realized that the journey had not only been about personal revenge or overcoming setbacks. It had been about finding new ways to connect with my passion for music, to inspire others, and to make a positive impact in the industry. As I stood in the studio one evening, watching the team work on the latest project, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The future was bright, filled with opportunities and potential. The road ahead was open, and I was ready to embrace it with the same determination and enthusiasm that had driven me through the challenges of the past. The journey was far from over, but it was now marked by a renewed sense of purpose and possibility. With each new project and each new collaboration, I was building a legacy that went beyond the scandal and the fallout. It was a legacy of creativity, resilience, and a commitment to pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The future awaited, and I was ready to face it with optimism and excitement, knowing that the best was yet to come. With the success of Jenna's tour and the innovative projects underway, I felt like I was in a good place, both professionally and personally. The studio was thriving, and the new collaborations were generating buzz in the industry. It was a satisfying culmination of months of hard work and recovery. But just as things seemed to be settling into a new routine, an unexpected challenge arose. One afternoon, while reviewing contracts and project proposals, I received an urgent email from a prominent music festival organizer, David Hartman. The email was terse but clear. There were concerns about the authenticity of the recent work we'd been producing. Hartman wanted to meet in person to discuss these concerns. Confused but intrigued, I agreed to a meeting. The following day, I found myself in a high-rise office with David Hartman, who looked every bit the part of a seasoned festival organizer: sharp suit, piercing gaze, and an air of authority. "Zach," Hartman began without preamble, "I've heard impressive things about your recent projects. However, there have been whispers in the industry about the integrity of your work. Some believe it's been heavily influenced or even compromised in some way." I was taken aback. "Compromised? That's a serious accusation. Can you elaborate?" Hartman handed me a folder filled with documents and emails that contained allegations about the originality of the recent projects. The claims were vague but suggested that some of the new tracks might have been heavily borrowed from other sources without proper credit. "This is the first time I've seen these documents," I said, examining the evidence. "I assure you that all our work has been thoroughly vetted and is original. I'd be happy to cooperate fully to clear this up." Hartman's demeanor softened slightly. "I believe you, Zach. But these claims are serious, and they could affect your reputation and our partnership. I need to know that everything is above board." I left the meeting with a heavy heart. The accusations were unsettling, and the potential impact on my reputation was significant. I knew that I needed to address this issue head-on, not just to protect my reputation but also to maintain the integrity of the work we had done. That evening, I gathered my team and explained the situation. Everyone was shocked, but they were also determined to clear our name. We decided to conduct a thorough review of all recent projects, including checking sources, reviewing contracts, and ensuring that all credits and permissions were in place. As we delved into the review, it became clear that the accusations were the result of misunderstandings and miscommunications rather than intentional wrongdoing. Some of the tracks had drawn inspiration from various sources, but we had taken care to ensure that all necessary permissions were obtained and credits were given. After a week of intense scrutiny, we compiled a detailed report demonstrating the authenticity and integrity of our work. We presented the findings to Hartman and addressed each of the concerns raised. Hartman reviewed the report carefully and met with me to discuss it. "I appreciate your thoroughness, Zach. The evidence you provided clears up the misunderstandings. I'm satisfied that everything is in order. Thank you for addressing this so promptly." With the issue resolved, I felt a wave of relief. It had been a stressful period, but it also reinforced the importance of transparency and integrity in everything we did. The challenge had been a reminder that success was not just about achieving goals but also about maintaining trust and credibility. As we moved forward, I focused on reinforcing the values of transparency and authenticity within the studio. We implemented stricter protocols for reviewing and documenting our work to prevent any future misunderstandings. The experience was a test of resilience and commitment to our principles. It also provided an opportunity to strengthen our relationships within the industry and to reaffirm our dedication to producing high-quality, original music. With the challenge behind us, the studio continued to flourish. We were working on exciting new projects, and the buzz around our work was positive and encouraging. The future was full of possibilities, and I was ready to embrace it with renewed determination and clarity. The journey had taught me valuable lessons about facing challenges head-on, staying true to one's values, and continuously striving for excellence. As I looked ahead, I felt confident in our ability to navigate any obstacles that came our way and to continue building on the success we had achieved. The studio's momentum was strong. We had weathered the storm of accusations and emerged with a renewed sense of purpose. Our projects were thriving, and the creative energy was palpable. It felt like we were on the brink of something great, with new opportunities just around the corner. One rainy afternoon, as I was finishing up some paperwork, the door to my office opened and in walked Holly. Her presence was unexpected, and for a moment, the room felt charged with an uneasy tension. "Zach," Holly began, her voice steady but tinged with uncertainty, "I hope it's okay that I came by. I wanted to talk." I gestured for her to sit. "Of course, Holly. What's on your mind?" Holly took a deep breath. "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. After everything that happened, I've realized that I need to make some changes in my life. I've been working on my own projects and trying to move forward, but I've also been reflecting on our past." I listened carefully. Holly's tone was serious, and it was clear she had put a lot of thought into this conversation. "What kind of changes are you talking about?" "I've been considering how I handled things and how it impacted everyone involved," she said. "I know it's too late to undo the past, but I want to make amends where I can. I've also been working on a new project, something I think could help me reconcile with my past actions and move forward positively." Holly's words were a mix of apology and determination. It was clear she wanted to make things right, but I was cautious. The past still held a significant weight, and the wounds were not easily healed. "What's the project about?" I asked. "It's a music therapy initiative," she explained. "I want to use my experience to help others who are dealing with similar challenges. It's about providing support and creating a space for healing through music. I think it could be a way to turn something negative into something positive." Her initiative was ambitious and, if executed well, could have a meaningful impact. It was a far cry from the drama that had marked our past interactions, and I could see the sincerity in her eyes. "I admire your initiative, Holly," I said. "Turning your experiences into something that helps others is a significant step. If there's a way I can support this, I'm open to discussing it." Holly's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you, Zach. I'm still in the early stages of planning, but I'd appreciate any advice or support you can offer. I want to make sure it's done right and that it has a positive impact." We spent the next few hours discussing Holly's project in detail. She had already made considerable progress, including partnerships with music therapists and a draft plan for the initiative. Her vision was clear, and her commitment to making a difference was evident. As we wrapped up our discussion, Holly expressed her gratitude once again. "I know we can't change the past, but I hope this is a step toward making amends and finding a way forward. Thank you for being open to this. I appreciate your effort, Holly, I replied. It takes courage to address the past and work towards something positive. I wish you the best with the project. With that, Holly left the studio, leaving behind a mix of emotions. The conversation had been a reminder of the complexities of personal and professional relationships. It had also shown me that even in the wake of conflict and betrayal, there could be opportunities for growth and redemption. The following weeks were busy as I continued to focus on the studio and the exciting new projects we had in the pipeline. Holly's initiative was progressing, and it was gaining positive attention in the industry. I kept in touch with her, offering advice and support where I could. The experience reinforced the idea that healing and reconciliation were ongoing processes. It wasn't just about moving on from past conflicts but also about finding ways to contribute positively to the world around us. As the studio continued to thrive and new projects took shape, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The unexpected reunion with Holly had been a poignant reminder of the importance of facing the past with integrity and using experiences, both good and bad, to build a better future. The journey was far from over, but each step forward was a testament to resilience, growth, and the power of turning challenges into opportunities. The future awaited, and I was ready to embrace it with an open heart and a clear vision. The studio's success and the positive reception of our projects had set a solid foundation for the future. The creative energy was high, and we were eagerly exploring new avenues to expand our influence in the industry. It felt like a new chapter was unfolding, one that was marked by growth, collaboration, and innovation. One day, as I was reviewing the latest tracks and coordinating with the team, I received a call from an old acquaintance, Marcus Reed. Marcus was a respected industry veteran known for his extensive network and deep knowledge of the music business. We hadn't spoken in years, but I remembered him as a mentor and a valuable connection. "Zach," Marcus said when I answered, "it's good to hear from you. I've been following your recent work, and I'm impressed with what you've achieved. I wanted to touch base and see if there might be an opportunity for us to collaborate." The prospect of working with Marcus was exciting. His reputation and experience could bring new opportunities and perspectives to the studio. We agreed to meet and discuss potential collaborations. A week later, I met Marcus at a trendy cafe in downtown. He looked older but still carried himself with the same confidence and charisma I remembered. We exchanged pleasantries and caught up on each other's lives before diving into the business discussion. "Zach, I've been thinking about ways we could collaborate," Marcus began. "Given your recent success and the innovative projects you're working on, I believe there's an opportunity to create something groundbreaking together. I have a few ideas that I think could align with your vision." Marcus laid out his proposal, a series of high-profile music events and exclusive collaborations featuring top-tier artists. The goal was to create a platform that showcased emerging talent while also bringing together established names in unique and compelling ways. "I see this as a chance to push the boundaries of what's possible in the industry," Marcus said. "It's about creating unforgettable experiences and setting new standards for music events." The idea was intriguing. It offered a way to expand our reach and build new connections while continuing to innovate. After discussing the details and exploring the potential benefits, I agreed to move forward with the collaboration. Over the next few months, Marcus and I worked closely to bring the vision to life. We coordinated with artists, secured venues, and developed a marketing strategy to generate buzz around the events. The process was intense but invigorating, as we combined our expertise and resources to create something truly special. As the first event approached, anticipation was high. The lineup was a mix of established stars and emerging talent, each performance promising to be unique and memorable. The events were designed not only to entertain but also to foster new relationships and opportunities within the industry. The inaugural event was a resounding success. The atmosphere was electric, and the performances were nothing short of spectacular. The media coverage was overwhelmingly positive, and the buzz around the events continued to grow. Marcus and I celebrated the success of the first event, reflecting on how far we had come and the impact of our collaboration. It was clear that building bridges and fostering new connections had been instrumental in achieving this success. The events also provided a platform for emerging artists to showcase their talent and gain exposure. We received positive feedback from both the artists and the audience, reinforcing the value of the initiative. As we continued to plan and execute future events, the collaboration with Marcus proved to be a significant turning point. It expanded our influence and opened new doors, both for the studio and for the artists we worked with. The experience was a reminder of the power of collaboration and the importance of building strong relationships within the industry. It was about creating opportunities for growth and innovation, and it was clear that working together could lead to remarkable achievements. With each successful event, we continued to push the boundaries and set new standards. The future was full of possibilities, and I was excited to see where this new chapter would lead. Building bridges had not only strengthened our position but had also paved the way for even greater accomplishments. As I looked ahead, I felt a renewed sense of optimism and determination. The journey had been challenging, but it had also been rewarding. The lessons learned and the connections made were invaluable, and I was ready to embrace the future with enthusiasm and a clear vision. The studio, the events, and the collaborations were all part of a larger story, one of resilience, growth, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. The future awaited, and I was eager to continue building on the success we had achieved and to explore new horizons in the world of music. The success of our recent events and collaborations had set a new standard for the studio. The industry buzz was positive, and the momentum seemed unstoppable. However, just when everything appeared to be on track, an unexpected setback threatened to disrupt our progress. It began with a series of troubling emails. They were from a legal firm representing a disgruntled former employee of the studio. The emails alleged that some of our recent projects had involved unauthorized use of proprietary material. The claims were vague but hinted at potential legal disputes that could jeopardize our recent achievements. The first email I received was brief but alarming. "Dear Zach, we represent Ms. Laura Bennett, a former employee of your studio. We have reason to believe that proprietary material created during Ms. Bennett's tenure has been used without authorization in your recent projects. Please respond promptly to discuss this matter. Sincerely, Gregory Lawson, Esq." I immediately called a meeting with Lisa and Marcus to address the issue. As we reviewed the emails and the allegations, it became clear that we needed to act quickly to avoid any potential legal complications. "We need to take this seriously," Lisa said. "Even if the claims are unfounded, we can't ignore them. We should conduct an internal review to ensure that everything is in order." Marcus nodded in agreement. "Agreed. We need to be transparent and thorough. If there's any validity to these claims, we need to address it immediately." We initiated a comprehensive internal review of all recent projects, focusing on the sources of material, permissions, and credits. The process was exhaustive and time-consuming, but it was essential to ensure that we were operating within legal and ethical boundaries. As we conducted the review, I also reached out to the legal firm to request more detailed information about the allegations. Gregory Lawson provided a few additional details, including some documents that Laura Bennett had submitted, which suggested that certain ideas or elements might have been used without proper authorization. The review revealed that while we had taken care to obtain permissions and credits for most of our work, there were a few areas where documentation was incomplete or unclear. It was a sobering realization that even with the best intentions, oversights could occur. I scheduled a meeting with Laura Bennett to discuss the situation directly. Her grievances seemed genuine, and she expressed frustration about not being properly credited for her contributions. "I understand your concerns," I said during our meeting. "We've been reviewing the projects and the documentation. It's clear that there were some oversights, and I want to address them." Laura appreciated the acknowledgement and agreed to work with us to resolve the issues. We agreed to update the credits and permissions for the affected projects and to implement new protocols to prevent similar issues in the future. The resolution process was not without its challenges. It required renegotiating some agreements, updating credits, and making changes to our documentation practices. However, addressing the issues head-on was the right course of action. Once the necessary changes were made and the documentation was updated, we sent a detailed response to the legal firm, outlining the steps we had taken to resolve the matter. Laura Bennett was satisfied with the outcome, and we reached a mutual agreement to move forward. The experience was a stark reminder of the importance of maintaining thorough and accurate records. It also reinforced the need for vigilance and transparency in all aspects of our work. Despite the setback, the studio continued to thrive. The challenges we faced only strengthened our resolve to uphold the highest standards of integrity and professionalism. We learned valuable lessons from the experience and implemented new measures to ensure that we remained compliant and transparent in all our dealings. As we moved forward, I felt a renewed sense of determination. The journey had been marked by both triumphs and trials, but each challenge had provided an opportunity for growth and improvement. The future was full of possibilities, and I was ready to face whatever came next with resilience and clarity. The unexpected setback had tested our commitment to excellence, but it had also reinforced our dedication to doing things the right way. The path ahead was clear, and I was eager to continue building on our successes and exploring new opportunities in the world of music. The studio had finally regained its footing after the legal setback, and we were back to focusing on the exciting projects and collaborations that lay ahead. The atmosphere was upbeat, and the positive energy was palpable as we continued to push boundaries and innovate within the industry. However, just when things seemed to be settling into a routine, an unexpected turn of events threw us off course once again. It started with a phone call that came in late one evening while I was working late at the studio. Zach, the voice on the other end, was familiar but unexpected. It was Richard, the singer from Holly's past affair. "I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." I was taken aback. The last time I had heard from Richard, he had been a casualty of the fallout from the scandal. "Richard, what's going on? I know this might seem out of the blue," he said, "but I need to discuss something important with you. It's about Holly's music therapy project." I was immediately on guard. "What about it?" Richard hesitated. "I've been following the progress of Holly's project, and I've come across some concerning information. It seems that there might be some connections to our past work that were not disclosed." His words were unsettling. If there were any issues with Holly's project related to our past work, it could potentially cause another wave of controversy. "Can you be more specific?" Richard explained that he had recently discovered some similarities between the music therapy project and an old concept he had been working on before the scandal. The similarities were subtle but raised questions about the originality and origins of the ideas. "I don't want to make accusations," Richard said, "but I think it's important for you to know. If there's a problem, it's better to address it before it becomes a bigger issue." I took Richard's concerns seriously and decided to investigate further. I scheduled a meeting with Holly to discuss the information Richard had provided. When I brought up the topic, Holly's initial reaction was one of surprise and concern. "I had no idea," she said. "If there's any overlap or similarity, it's purely coincidental. I've worked hard to ensure that everything is original and properly credited." We reviewed the details of Richard's claims together, comparing them to Holly's project. While some elements did seem similar, Holly provided evidence of her project's development and the sources of her inspiration. It appeared that any similarities were more likely a result of common themes in the music therapy field rather than intentional copying. To be thorough, I also consulted with our legal team to ensure that everything was above board. They conducted a review of the project's development and found no evidence of intentional infringement. The concerns were addressed, and the project's documentation was updated to clarify the sources and influences. Once the review was complete, I reached out to Richard to provide an update. "Richard, we've looked into the concerns you raised, and we've addressed them with Holly. The similarities seem to be coincidental, but we've made sure that everything is properly documented and credited." Richard appreciated the transparency and agreed to put the matter to rest. He acknowledged that misunderstandings can happen, especially in creative fields where ideas can overlap. With the issue resolved, Holly's project continued to move forward without further complications. The experience was a reminder of the importance of vigilance and clear communication in the industry. Even when intentions are genuine, misunderstandings can arise, and it's crucial to address them promptly and transparently. The studio continued to thrive, and the creative energy was once again focused on producing innovative and impactful work. The turn of events had tested our resilience, but it had also reinforced our commitment to maintaining integrity and addressing issues proactively. As I reflected on the recent challenges, I felt a renewed sense of determination. The journey had been marked by ups and downs, but each experience had provided valuable lessons. The future was full of potential, and I was ready to embrace it with optimism and a clear vision. The path ahead was exciting, and I was eager to continue exploring new opportunities, building on our successes, and contributing positively to the world of music. The journey was far from over, but with each step forward, we were shaping a future defined by creativity, integrity, and resilience. The studio was on a high. We had successfully navigated legal challenges, addressed concerns about our projects, and continued to push boundaries with our innovative work. The collaborations and events we had spearheaded were receiving widespread acclaim, and the atmosphere was filled with excitement and anticipation for what lay ahead. But as the old saying goes, success often invites scrutiny, and our rising profile drew attention from unexpected quarters. This time, it came in the form of a rival music producer named Alex Carson, someone who had always operated in the shadows but now seemed intent on undermining our achievements. It began with a series of aggressive marketing campaigns that Alex launched, targeting our recent projects. His advertisements were subtle but insidious, suggesting that our work was derivative and lacking originality. It wasn't long before these insinuations began to affect our reputation. One morning, I was greeted by a flood of social media posts and emails from industry insiders and fans expressing concerns about the authenticity of our recent projects. The timing was impeccable, just as we were preparing for a major showcase event. These attacks threatened to overshadow our achievements. I called an emergency meeting with Lisa and Marcus to address the situation. "It's clear that Alex is trying to undermine us," I said. "We need to come up with a strategy to counter these attacks and protect our reputation." Lisa nodded in agreement. "We need to be proactive. We should issue a statement addressing the concerns and reaffirming our commitment to originality and transparency." Marcus suggested a more aggressive approach. "We need to turn the tables and showcase the true value of our work. Let's organize a special event to highlight the innovation and creativity behind our projects. It will serve as both a response to the criticisms and a celebration of our achievements." We decided to move forward with Marcus's plan. We organized a high-profile showcase event that featured performances and presentations from the artists and collaborators who had been a part of our recent projects. The goal was to demonstrate the originality and impact of our work while addressing any lingering doubts. In the lead-up to the event, we issued a statement reaffirming our commitment to authenticity and transparency. We also addressed the concerns raised by Alex's campaign, providing evidence of our project's development and the rigorous processes we had in place to ensure originality. The night of the showcase event arrived, and the venue was packed with industry professionals, media representatives, and fans. The atmosphere was electric, and the energy was palpable as the performances and presentations unfolded. The event was a resounding success. The audience was captivated by the creativity and innovation on display, and the media coverage was overwhelmingly positive. The showcase effectively countered the criticisms and reaffirmed our position as leaders in the industry. In the aftermath of the event, the backlash against Alex's campaign grew. Industry insiders and fans rallied in support of our work, and the criticisms began to fade into the background. It was clear that our response had been effective, and our reputation was restored. The experience served as a valuable reminder of the challenges that come with success. It highlighted the importance of maintaining a strong reputation and being prepared to address any issues that arise. It also reinforced the value of proactive communication and showcasing the true value of our work. With the crisis behind us, the studio continued to thrive. We remained focused on our projects and collaborations, and the positive momentum carried us forward. The recent events had tested our resilience and resourcefulness, but they had also strengthened our resolve. As I reflected on the journey, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The challenges had been significant, but each one had provided an opportunity for growth and improvement. The future was bright, and I was excited to continue exploring new possibilities and contributing to the world of music. The tipping point had been a defining moment, but it had also been a testament to our strength and determination. The path ahead was full of potential, and I was ready to embrace it with optimism and a clear vision. The studio, the events, and the collaborations were all part of a larger story, one of creativity, integrity, and resilience. The journey was ongoing, and with each step forward, we were shaping a future defined by innovation and excellence. The studio's triumph over recent challenges and the successful showcase event had solidified our position in the industry. The positive buzz continued to build, and we were riding a wave of creative energy and optimism. But even as we celebrated our successes, I couldn't shake the feeling that the journey was approaching a crucial juncture. One afternoon, as I was reviewing new project proposals, Lisa walked into my office with a serious expression. "Zach, we need to talk. There's something important you should know." I looked up from my desk. "What's going on?" Lisa sat down and took a deep breath. "I've been doing some digging, and it appears that Alex Carson's attacks were just the tip of the iceberg. I've come across some information suggesting that he's been trying to undermine our studio's reputation through more covert means." My interest was piqued. "What do you mean by covert means?" Lisa explained that Alex had been spreading rumors and misinformation about our projects and team members through anonymous sources. The goal seemed to be to create doubt and discord within the industry, subtly eroding our credibility while staying out of the spotlight. "Why would he go to such lengths?" I asked. "It looks like he's threatened by our success," Lisa said. "He's been trying to capitalize on the negative attention and find ways to discredit us without direct confrontation. It's a strategy to undermine our achievements and potentially sabotage future opportunities." The revelation was unsettling. Alex's tactics were not only underhanded but also potentially damaging to the studio's long-term prospects. We needed to address the situation carefully and strategically. "We need to confront this head-on," I said. "We can't let Alex's schemes go unanswered. But we need to be smart about how we handle it." Lisa agreed. "I suggest we gather all the evidence we can about Alex's actions and then decide on the best course of action. We can't let this continue to impact our reputation." We began compiling a dossier of evidence related to Alex's activities. It involved tracing the sources of the misinformation, identifying the patterns in the rumors, and gathering any relevant documentation. It was a meticulous process. But it was essential to ensure that we had a clear and accurate picture of the situation. Once we had compiled the evidence, we sought legal advice on how to proceed. Our legal team recommended a two-pronged approach. First, to issue a public statement addressing the situation and exposing Alex's tactics, and second, to pursue legal action if necessary to protect our reputation and interests. We crafted a statement that detailed the situation and highlighted our commitment to transparency and integrity. The goal was to refute the misinformation and present a clear, factual account of the situation. We also prepared for the possibility of legal action, should it become necessary. The day we released the statement, the response was swift. The industry reacted strongly, with many voices coming out in support of the studio and condemning Alex's tactics. The media coverage was intense, and it became clear that Alex's attempts to undermine us had backfired. In the weeks that followed, the attention shifted away from the controversy and back to our studio's achievements and upcoming projects. The legal team monitored the situation closely, ensuring that any remaining issues were addressed promptly. The experience had been a challenging one, but it also reinforced the strength and resilience of our team. We had faced significant obstacles but had navigated them with integrity and determination. The final decision to confront the situation and protect our reputation had been the right one, and it had set a positive precedent for how we would handle similar challenges in the future. As the dust settled, I reflected on the journey we had been through. The studio's success, the challenges we had faced, and the decisions we had made had all contributed to our growth and development. The path ahead was filled with opportunities, and I was excited to continue exploring new horizons. The final decision had marked a turning point, but it had also reaffirmed our commitment to excellence and integrity. With each step forward, we were shaping a future defined by creativity, resilience, and success. The journey was far from over, but it was clear that we were on the right path, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next with optimism and a clear vision. The studio had weathered the recent storm and emerged stronger, with our reputation intact and our focus back on our creative endeavors. The positive momentum continued to build, and we were eagerly anticipating the launch of our next major project. But just as everything seemed to be on track, a new challenge arose that required a different kind of response. One afternoon, as I was reviewing the final details of our upcoming album release, I received a phone call from an unexpected source, Holly. Her voice was tinged with apprehension. "Zach, I need to talk to you. It's important." I agreed to meet her at a nearby cafe, and as we sat down, Holly seemed nervous but determined. "I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened," she began. "I want to make amends and find a way to move forward." I listened as Holly explained that she had been reflecting on the impact of her actions. both on our relationship and on her career. She wanted to take responsibility for her part in the fallout and find a way to make things right. Her decision was driven by a genuine desire for redemption and healing. "I understand if you're still upset," Holly said, "but I want to do whatever I can to make amends and contribute positively. I'd like to offer my support to the studio and be involved in a way that helps repair any damage that may have been caused." Her offer was unexpected and came at a time when we were focused on moving forward. I was skeptical but recognized that her willingness to make amends could potentially be a positive step. "I appreciate your willingness to address this," I said. "Let's discuss how you can contribute and support the studio in a meaningful way." We decided to explore ways Holly could be involved that aligned with her strengths and interests. She proposed using her platform and experience to promote our upcoming projects and collaborate on new initiatives. Her involvement would be an opportunity to leverage her influence for positive impact and help restore confidence in our work. As Holly began to participate in promotional activities and contribute to new projects, her presence had a noticeable effect. Her genuine commitment and efforts to make amends were well received, and her involvement helped to bridge the gap between the past controversies and the studio's current success. The album release was a success, with Holly's contributions adding a unique and valuable perspective. The positive feedback from fans and industry professionals reinforced the value of her involvement and demonstrated that redemption was possible. In the months that followed, Holly continued to support the studio and contribute to various projects. Her efforts were focused on making a positive impact and helping to build a stronger foundation for the future. Her redemption journey became a testament to the power of taking responsibility and working towards positive change. The experience highlighted the importance of forgiveness and the potential for growth and healing. It was a reminder that even in the face of challenges, there was always an opportunity to make things right and move forward with integrity. As I reflected on the journey, I felt a renewed sense of hope and optimism. The studio had navigated numerous obstacles and emerged stronger, and Holly's redemption had added a new dimension to our success. The path ahead was filled with possibilities, and I was excited to continue exploring new opportunities and contributing positively to the world of music. The journey was far from over, but with each step forward, we were shaping a future defined by resilience, creativity, and a commitment to excellence. The final chapter in this part of our story was one of redemption and renewal, and it set the stage for new adventures and continued growth. The future awaited, and I was ready to embrace it with a clear vision and a positive outlook. The studio's rejuvenation and Holly's redemption had brought a new wave of enthusiasm and creativity. We were moving forward with renewed energy, and the upcoming projects were lined up with promising potential. Yet, amid this optimism, an unexpected twist emerged that would challenge everything we had worked so hard to build. It began with a chance encounter. I was attending a music industry conference, a routine event where I usually enjoyed networking and discussing new trends. While navigating through the crowded hall, I bumped into Vince, the former business partner who had been at the center of the betrayal and fallout earlier in the story. Vince looked different from the last time I had seen him. His once confident demeanor was replaced by a more subdued presence. We exchanged uneasy pleasantries, and he mentioned that he was now working on a new venture in the music industry. "I didn't expect to see you here," Vince said, his tone cautious. "I've been following your recent success. Looks like you've managed to turn things around." I nodded, keeping my composure. "Yes, things have been going well. How about you? What are you working on?" Vince hesitated before revealing that he was involved in a project that was starting to gain traction. He spoke about his new venture with a mix of hope and trepidation. "I know things didn't end well between us," he said, "but I wanted to extend an olive branch. Maybe we can find a way to collaborate or at least put the past behind us." His unexpected offer was met with a mix of skepticism and curiosity. I agreed to hear him out and scheduled a follow-up meeting to discuss his proposal in more detail. During our meeting, Vince explained that his new venture was focused on supporting emerging artists and fostering creativity in ways that aligned with our studio's values. He had seen the impact of our work and wanted to explore potential synergies. "I know it might sound strange," Vince admitted, "but I've been reflecting on my past decisions and realized that there's a lot I can learn from your approach. I think there's an opportunity for us to work together in a way that benefits both of us and the artists we support." I listened carefully. Despite our past conflicts, Vince's sincerity and the alignment of his new venture with our values made me reconsider the possibility of collaboration. It was clear that he had undergone a transformation and was eager to make amends. After thoughtful consideration and discussions with Lisa and Marcus, we decided to explore a potential partnership with Vince's new venture. We set clear terms and boundaries to ensure that the collaboration would be mutually beneficial and avoid any repeat of past issues. The new venture proved to be a valuable addition. Vince's experience and connections brought new opportunities for emerging artists, and the collaboration enhanced our studio's reputation for supporting creativity and innovation. The partnership allowed us to expand our reach and impact, further solidifying our position in the industry. As the months passed, the collaboration with Vince continued to evolve. It became evident that the unexpected twist had led to a positive outcome. The partnership was a testament to the possibility of redemption and growth, even in the face of past conflicts. Reflecting on the journey, I realized that the unexpected twist had been a catalyst for further growth and opportunity. It reinforced the importance of remaining open to new possibilities and finding ways to turn challenges into positive outcomes. The future of the studio was bright, and the experiences we had navigated had shaped us into a stronger and more resilient team. With each new opportunity and collaboration, we continued to build on our success and contribute positively to the world of music. The final chapter of this phase in our story was one of transformation and renewal. It highlighted the power of redemption and the potential for growth, even from the most unexpected twists. As we looked forward to the future, we did so with optimism and a commitment to continuing our journey with creativity, integrity, and resilience.